So this is the fourth module of international finance, and in this module we are going to discuss about the foreign exchange markets and its futures, and we are going to discuss about the taxation system, and we are going to discuss about many other topics in this international finance. So this is the fourth part and this is the last part of the module, and we are going to start the topic foreign exchange markets, and let's start with the topic. So the foreign exchange markets mean is defined as a market where one currency is traded for another. So it creates a mechanism for exchanging different monetary units for circulation in different countries, and it facilitates the transfer of purchasing power from one country to the other country. So this foreign exchange markets is nothing but, so in this market the Indian currency is converted into dollars and the dollars are converted into Indian currency, that is INR, that is rupee. So this process is involved in this foreign exchange markets. So if we talk about the distinctive features of this foreign exchange markets, so the first one is over the counter market, the first feature. So in an over the counter market, it is not to denote a particular place or a floor where the dealer assemble or transact the foreign currencies. So rather it is concerned with the network of the banks, the brokers and the dealers spread across the various financial centers of the world. So the markets which relies more on communication network, and that is why the transactions are made normally on verbal and which are followed by the written communication, the first feature. So if we go on to the second feature, that is dealing room. So all the professionals who deal in the currencies, opinions, futures and swap assemble in dealing room. So they all will be there in the dealing room, and this is a forum where all the transactions which are related to the foreign exchange are carried out in this dealing room. So this foreign exchange market acts as a dealing room. So it facilitates instant access to the entire information and the communication. So the major agencies which participate in this market communication between themselves through a network of telephones, faxes and other means of communication which are supplied by the routers, Bloomrang, etc. So dealing 2000 and electronic booking system and Mintex, so these are very popular nowadays. So if we talk about the foreign exchange market, it is round the clock market. So the worldwide market is 24 hours market. It is open virtually 24 hours a day, and at least one of the financial markets of the world are open for 24 hours a day. So when the New York market closes at 3 p.m., the Los Angeles market remains open as a corresponding time there is 12 p.m. So when the Los Angeles market closes, it opens the time of Sydney and Tokyo. So when the Tokyo closes, the Hong Kong market will still open as it would be only 2 p.m. there. So at the time of closing of this Hong Kong market, the Singapore market can be accessed because there will be only 1 p.m. So if you look on like this, so this markets of this foreign exchange markets are never closed, so they work 24 hours a day. So if we move on to the next feature, that is largest financial market. So the foreign exchange markets is largely financial market in the world. So the recent estimate placed the average foreign exchange trading, which was volumed at $1,300 billion in 2000, daily increasing from $650 million in 1990, and there is an average daily foreign exchange trading transactions are increasing at the growing rate, because with the advent of the globalization of activities around the world, so the foreign exchanges are taking place at they are increasing significantly every day. So if we speak about the volumes of transactions, so over the years there have been a sizable growth in the foreign exchange operations. So this increase may be attributed because of every active participation of the financial institutions and corporates as they go about trying to manage the exchange risk rate. So about 5% of the volume traded on the market represents the need of international trade and tourism. So the 10 to 15% the movement of capital will be there, like funds, and the bulk share of this foreign exchange operations comes from the commercial banks. So more and more exchange operations are concentrated in certain banks such as Citibank, Morgan, and Barclays and Midlands. So these are the banks which are meant for this foreign exchange reserves. And if we move on to the other feature, that is highly volatility. So the foreign exchange market is one of the most volatile market in the world. So the exchange rate fluctuate once in every 4 seconds. So the volatility rate is due to the influence of the demand and the supply forces which act in the market. So this attract spectators and attributors to take part in this forex market, and these are the features of the foreign exchange market. So now if we talk about the participant in this foreign exchange markets are, first one, anyone who is involved in this exchange of currency of one country for the currency of other country, so or need of such services, it's said to be participants, and the first participant will be the customers. So the customer who are engaged in foreign trade practice in the foreign exchange market are availing the services of the agency and undertaking the foreign exchange operations, and it includes the individual, and it also includes the tourist from the other countries, and it also includes the importers who exchange money for the domestic currency for the foreign currency. And the next participant will be the commercial banks. So there are almost active players in this foreign exchange market. So major commercial banks which deal in this international transaction offer the services of a conversion of one currency into the other currency, and they have a wide network of the branches, and all the major commercial banks that have been authorized to deal with this foreign exchange collectivity constitute known as the interbank market. So on account of exchange control regulations, the commercial banks have to conduct their foreign exchange operations as per the local regulatory framework which is issued by the government of particular country. So if we move on to the other participant, that is central banks. So the central bank is the most of the countries, they are held responsible for maintaining the external value of the currency of a particular country. So the central bank is nothing but, in India we have Reserve Bank of India, so that is known as central bank. So the central bank has to ensure orderliness in the movement of exchange rates. So this is achieved by central bank intervention in the foreign market. So when the market rate of the currency reaches the upper lines, which is known as upper intervention point, so the central bank of that country must increase the sales on its own currency in exchange for the other currencies. So similarly, the banks must sell the foreign currency and buy its own currency when the market rate reaches the lower lines. So this is known as lower intervention point. So if we move on to the exchange brokers, so these exchange brokers play an important role in foreign exchange markets. So this extent to which the services of this foreign exchange market brokers are utilized depends upon the tradition and the practice prevailing at a particular foreign exchange market center. So in London, New York and Paris, interbank transactions are put through this brokers only. So similarly in India, dealing is done in interbank market through this brokers itself. So the foreign exchange brokers are not allowed to deal on their own account all over the world as in India. So India has some specific rules, and the other one is the other participant is spectators. So the commercial banks, the central banks, the corporate who undertake the activity of buying and selling the foreign currency. So for booking short term profits, they will be doing they are the participants of this foreign exchange markets also. Now we are going to speak about the Foreign Exchange Management Act, which is known as FEMA. So this presently we are going to discuss about the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, which came in 1973 and which used to regulate the foreign exchanges transactions and also regulate the foreign exchange the administration of the business which is outside the country by the Indian companies and in India also by the foreign companies. So the main objective was to of this FERA is to preservation and proper utilization of foreign exchange resources of a country. So this foreign exchange reserves and the growth in this foreign trade, so the liberalization of Indian investments and all these changes necessities and the government had a pressure to modify this FERA Act, which is known as Foreign Exchange Regulation Act of 1973. So in order to modify this one, the foreign minister in the Lok Sabha on 4th August 1998 brought up a different bill for this Foreign Exchange Management Act, which act in 1999 and which replaced the FERA. So on January 1st 2000, so the FEMA came into effect, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act of 2000 came into effect. So the main objectives of this Foreign Exchange Management Act is to facilitate external trade and payments and to promote the systematic development and maintain a good foreign exchange market. So these are the main advantages of this Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999 and which came into the force in 2000. So now we are going to deal with the sections of FEMA. Now if we speak about the section 3 of this Foreign Exchange Management Act, so according to the section 3 of FEMA, no person shall deal with any other foreign exchange or the foreign security with any person outside India. And the second condition is shall not receive any payment by order on behalf of any person resident outside in India in any manner. And the third condition is make any payment for the credit of any other person who is not resident and who is outside in India in any manner. And the fourth principle or the fourth condition is no person shall undertake any financial transaction in India as consideration or for any association with acquisition of any asset outside the India. So without the permission of Reserve Bank, these conditions should not be infringed. So according to the FEMA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, all the dealings in the foreign exchange or the foreign security and all the payments from outside the country to India shall be made in general or specific permission of the Reserve Bank and only through authorized persons only. So the Foreign Exchange Management Act imposes some restrictions on the payment outside the India except with some special permissions from the Reserve Bank of India. So now we are going to deal with the section 4 of this Foreign Exchange Management Act. So now we are going to discuss about the section 4 of Foreign Exchange Management Act. So according to the section 4 of Foreign Exchange Management Act, so without the permission of the Reserve Bank of India, so no person is allowed to acquire or hold or own or possess or transfer any foreign exchange or any foreign security or any immovable property which is situated outside the India. So these are the restrictions which are made by the FEMA Act, and we are now going to discuss some other restrictions, some other sections of this Foreign Exchange Management Act. So now we are talking about the current account transactions, which is related to the section 5 of Foreign Exchange Management Act. So this allows any person to sell foreign exchange to any authorized person or to draw the foreign exchange from any authorized person for the current account transactions only. So however, the current account transactions are restricted by the central government in public interest. So there are some conditions to fulfill this one also. So now we are going to discuss about the capital account transactions. So the Reserve Bank of India, with advice of the central government, may allow some persons to sell the foreign exchange to an authorized person, or to draw the exchange from an authorized person under the section 6 of FEMA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act. So there are some restrictions, so there are some prohibited terms, rules. So now we are going to discuss about that one. So the transfer or issue of any foreign security by any other person resident in India, or any security which is issued or which is transferred by a person outside India, or any other security or foreign security is transferred or issued by any branch or any office or any agency in India of a person resident outside India, or any borrowing or any leading in the foreign exchange, in whatever form or whatever name called. So the deposit between the person resident in India and the person resident outside India. So this all, the FEMA allows a person resident in India to hold, own or transfer or invest in foreign exchange currency or foreign exchange security or any other immovable property which is located outside the India, such as currency, maybe such as security, like such as property which is acquired and held or owned by any person who, when he was resident outside India, or received anything from the person who was resident outside India. So in all these cases, the Indian currency, a person resident outside India may hold or transfer or invest in Indian currency, and the security of the fixed property located in India, this all will be regulated by the FEMA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act. So if such currency or security or a property is acquired or held or owned by any other person when he was resident in India, or received from a person who was resident in India, the FEMA Act empowers the Reserve Bank to prohibit or to restrict or to regulate the establishment in India, a branch or any office of a business by a person resident which is outside India, in order to carry out an activity which is related to such branch and office. So this FEMA Act has complete authority. So this act gives the complete authority for the Reserve Bank of India to do anything, to take control over this all what we have mentioned the clauses. So the Reserve Bank has no authority to impose any restriction on the drawing of foreign exchange for the payments due to the amortization of the loans, or due to the depreciation of direct investments in the norms of course of the business. But rest of all, the Reserve Bank will be having authority to deal with. So now we are going to discuss about the export of goods and services, which comes under the section 4 of this Foreign Exchange Management Act. So the every exporter of good or any service should provide to the Reserve Bank of India or to such authority the details of such as true and correct material fact, and the amount representing the full export value also. So the exporter should give his details and the value of the export details to the Reserve Bank or any other authority which will be taking care of this all export value goods. So further, there must be any other information which is required for the Reserve Bank in order to ensure the realized value of export must by such an exporter. So he have to give all the details to the Reserve Bank of India. So as per the FEMA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act. So now we are going to deal with the realization and repartization of the foreign exchange, which comes under the section 4 as well as section 8 of FEMA Act. So the section 8 of FEMA Act defines if an amount of a foreign exchange is due or has occurred to any person, then he will be taking appropriate step to realize and get it back to the India within the time. So according to the guidelines of the RBI, So there are some exemptions for this, and now we are going to deal with the exemptions. So the first exemption is possession of any foreign currency of foreign winds by any other person who has certain limit as specified by the Reserve Bank of India. So these are exceptions for holding the foreign currency. So the other one is if the foreign exchange was required in the form of gift or received from a person resident outside of India, may be exempted under certain limits as specified by the Reserve Bank. So the other condition is if a person received foreign exchange through employment, business, trade, etc., then he is exempted from upon certain limit as to the Reserve Bank may specify, and the Reserve Bank may specify up to certain extent for any other receipts in the foreign exchange also. So these four are the exemptions for this rule. So if anyone wins any lottery or something in any other country, so that is accepted, so they can possess the foreign exchange reserves or foreign currency with them. Or if any person who has received a gift from any other person who is residing outside, for example your relatives will be going to abroad and they will be giving the gift to you, so that also can be accepted up to certain extent, and these are the exemptions for this FEMA Act. So now we are going to deal with the administration of the act. So the FEMA has delegated as an important role to the Reserve Bank of India in the administration of this act with the consultancy of the government, central government. So the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, can lay down any rule or regulation or norms which is related to several sections of the FEMA Act, and the act may necessary for the central government can appoint as many as officers of the central government as educating the authority for conducting inquiries which are related to this act. So in order to hear the appeals against the order of this adjudicating authorities, this act has a provision for the appointment of one or more special directors also. So the central government may establish an appellant tribunal for this foreign exchange to hear the appeals against the orders and adjudicating the authorities and specific directors. So all which comes under this offenders, the economic offences of India which are related to the foreign, so the central government will be appointing a tribunal. A tribunal is nothing but a court, a special court which deals with the special kind of cases. So there will be a separate court for dealing this foreign offences, economic offences, etc. So now we are going to discuss about a balance of payment. So in this approach, the balance of payment approach, in a country, a balance of payment influences the level of exchange rate which is dependent on the exchange rate regime. So the fundamental components in this balance of payment are current account, capital account, financial account, and net errors and omission accounts, and reserve and related terms. So this balance of payment, we are going to discuss it in with an example. If the country is having equilibrium balance of payment method, so that equilibrium balance of payment method will be helping for the growth of economy, for the development of the particular country of an economy. So it indirectly increases the employment rate and reduces the unemployment rate. So this helps in many terms, in many ways. So if a country is having in equilibrium balance of payment, so then the country will be having an impact on its economy and its development and its GDP growth also. So it is very essential to require an equilibrium in this balance of payment method for all the underdeveloping and developing countries as well as developed countries also. So if we talk about the example for this balance of payment, we'll be taking some foreign exchange and the gold example. So the effect and the the effect of imbalances in the balance of payment method will differ from one country depending upon the exchange rate system they follow. So generally there are three types of exchange rate, which is known as fixed exchange rate, floating exchange rate, and managed exchange rate. So this balance of payment method is nothing but, now we are going to discuss about the term balance of payment. For example, if many other Indians are working in abroad in the US and they are earning a lot money and they are sending the amount to India for their family members as a remittance, so the balance of payment method will be very easy for India because it is earning the foreign currency. So the value of Indian currency will also increase at that point of time. So if no one are working, so no other India is not earning any foreign currency, so the value of Indian rupee will be going down because it have to give more for buying the foreign currency. In order to buy the oil, crude oil, etc., we have to pay them in the dollar form, because dollar is the standard money form in the world. We have to pay the countries in the dollar, so we have to buy the dollar from the US. So if we have the reserves of US dollars in our country, so that will be helping in order to develop the nation. So this is known as balance of payment, the credit which you have received in an year with respective of international transactions. So if a country is surplus in the balance of payment, surplus is nothing but when you have more than what you are required, so that will be favorable for a country, and the development of a country will be high chances of development will be there of that economies. So if we are facing the deficient in this balance of payment method, so the deficient refers to if you want 10 rupees but you only have 9 or 8 rupees, so that is known as deficient budget. So that is known as, the term is known as deficient. So if the balance of payment of a country is deficient, so that will be having much impact on the country, because the country should give more rupees in order to convert into the dollars. So we have to buy the dollar at more rate when compared to the surplus balance of payment method. So this is the meaning of this balance of payment method, and now we are going to discuss in detail the significance of this balance of payment approach in order to get a greater understanding regarding this BOP, which is termed as balance of payment methods. So now let's get started with it. So now we are going to discuss the significance. So the data which is related to this balance of payment method of both the home country as well as the host country is significant for the international managers or international investors, as well as international customers and the government officials too, because the data is influenced by various macro factors, variables such as price level, such as exchange rates, such as gross domestic product and the employment rate and the interest rate. So based upon this balance of payment method, the data which is related to this one, we can calculate this all. So though the balance of payment data, so this helps the business managers and the investors can predict the future outcomes based upon the economic policies of the host country, which is operated by the balance of payment event. So if we look into the significance of this balance of payment, the first significant feature is it helps in forecasting the future market potential of a country, particularly for a small period of time. So this helps the investors. So if the investor can predict the future market, so he can invest, he will be knowing where to invest his money. So this is the major advantage. And the balance of payment method exists in deficient, so then such countries are not able to import the large quantities of goods, so because they are having deficient balance of payment methods. So if you know the balance of payment method helps to know the pressure on the foreign exchange rate of a country also. So if the firms standing a potential in respect to this balance of payment method, so it is having a greater power to gain a lot or to develop its economy. So for any changes, if any changes occur in this balance of payment method, so then it would likely to predict the removal of foreign exchange controls also. So any alterations or modifications in this balance of payment method of a country which indicates the removal of control over the payment of dividends, over the interest, over the license fee, over the royalty fee, and etc. So this all plays an important role in maintaining in investors to invest, or plays an important role in the investments also. So the balance of payment method data indicates the high risk associated with the foreign exchange of certain countries. So based upon this risk of exchange rates of a country, so the investors from the global world, so they will be coming. If a country has a surplus balance of payment method, so then that will be having a huge investments, a huge foreign direct investments from other countries. So we will be going to discuss about what is foreign direct investments and its factors also, don't worry. And so if a country is having surplus balance of payment, so then the country will be receiving huge foreign direct investments, and that maintaining a surplus balance of payment will also help the country to achieve, to maximize its growth in terms of gross domestic product, or in terms of revenue, or in terms of economic policies also. So this maintaining a surplus of balance of payment method is very essential. So now we are going to discuss about the foreign direct investment. So acquisition or purchase of foreign assets where the purchases has substantial degree of control is usually termed as foreign direct investment. So according to the International Monetary Fund, so foreign direct investment is termed as, or defined as, the investment which is made in the economy to grow significantly and also possess the lasting interest in the enterprise apart from the investor. So this is the main definition which was given by International Monetary Fund. And now we are going to discuss about the reasons for this foreign direct investments also. So generally the foreign direct investment is nothing but if any other country comes to your country and invest or start any business activity, so the amount they invested in our country is known as foreign direct investments. So if the foreign direct investments of a country are high, so the country will be having high employment rate and low unemployment rate, because if many business will be starting in the country, so they need many workers for working in their industries. So the employment rate of a particular country who is having high foreign direct investments will be high in the employment rate. So now we are discussing the reasons for this FDI. So the first reason is economies of scale. So as the domestic market saturates from a company's product, it starts viewing overseas markets as a potential source for the growth. So continuous growth is essential for achieving further economies of the scale, which is necessary for any business enterprise to survive in the competitive market. So the next factor that is concerned, or the reason which is concerned with FDI, is need to get around trade barriers. So despite of growing importance of international trade, the trade barriers contribute to be placed in the most of the countries due to various economies or political or social reasons. So there is a need to get around this trade barriers, which promotes to corporate to make the foreign direct investments in order to expand the markets and in order to provide various products to other countries. So if a country is investing in foreign direct investments, so the amount of sales of a particular firm will be increasing. So if we move on to the next one, that is comparative advantage. So the location advantage offers for a country. So if you see, if a country is having high resources, particular iron ore or something, it is very good to invest in that country if you want to manufacture any iron related machinery or something. So if we move on to the next one, that is attacking foreign competition. So companies being challenged by the foreign countries nowadays, competitors, so it is very much essential to have good qualitative products for low price in order to increase our business. So if we move on to the other factor, that is non transferable knowledge. So for example, the knowledge of McDonald's or KFC will not be transferred, so they have to come, they have to keep the branches in other countries in order to expand their business. They can't go for this franchise system, which is like they will be giving the contracts for other, because the, even if you see the Coca-Cola company, it is having the formulation, so they are given, they can't transfer the formulations to other companies, so they have to keep the companies in order to increase their sales, or in order to expand the business. So this is the main reason of this foreign direct investment. So if we move on to the next factor, that is brand equity. So some brands enjoy international reputation. The popularity of these brands act as an initiative for the producers to expand their overseas. For example, Levi's set up operations in India to exploit its international reputation as a producer of good quality denim jeans. And if you take about Harley Davidson, or if you take about any other car manufacturing country, so they will be coming to India to manufacture in order to increase their business, as well as in order to expand their, increase their profits also. If we move on to the next one, that is protection of brand quality. So the quality should be maintained by any other firm for its product. So this is also main reason for this foreign direct investment. So now moving on to next topic. So these are the some important reasons for this foreign direct investments. So if we move on to the next topic, that is taxation. We all know what is the meaning of taxation and what is the reason for this taxation. We are going to discuss the topic in detail. So the taxation is something significant aspect in the, so in the operation of international firms. So it is widely used as a financial decisions like international investment decisions, or international working capital decisions, or funding raising or fundraising decisions, and the decisions which are related to the dividend and other payments. So the management of taxation is a difficult task for international corporations because they follow many things, and we are going to discuss the reasons why they are difficult for the international corporations. So the firm's first reason is, and if we move on to the first reason, that is the firms carry out its operation in various tax jurisdictions. When the tax rates, where the tax rates and the administration will be differ from place to place. So and the burden of tax for these international firms are also analyzed by different definitions related to the tax base. And if we move on to the next reason, that is a different in tax treatments also. So if the different countries possess a different tax treatments, so then it can result in the distortion in the foreign trade and the investment also. So all countries won't follow the same tax rate system also, so that is also a barrier or the reason for the difficulty in the management of taxation. And if we move on to the other reason, that is because of the various tax jurisdictions and in the international firms, there is a possibility of for international firms to exploit the opportunities and control the domestic firms also. So this is the main reason, which is, these are the main reasons, these four main reasons are the reasons for why there is a difficulty in the management of tax system. So now we are going to discuss about various types of tax. So the various types of taxes are: first one income tax, second one withhold tax, and third one value added tax, fourth one is Tobin tax, and we have several other national taxes also. Let's discuss one by one. So the first income tax, when we discuss the term income tax, So the primary revenue source of of any government in the world is from income tax only. So the both the personal and the corporate taxes comes under this income tax, and the most widely used tax in today's era is corporate tax. So different corporate rate taxes are levied on distributed and the undistributed income also. So we are going to discuss different corporate tax rates and how the income rates vary from one country to another country. So if we talk about Kuwait, so it charges 55% of tax, and if you talk about Hong Kong, which only charges 16.5% as a tax, either it may be in personal tax or corporate tax. And if we talk about the British Virgin Islands, which levies 15% of tax, and if we talk about offshore tax havens, that is 0%. So these are the different levels of the tax which are followed by different countries. So now we are going to discuss about withhold tax. So this withhold tax is levied on those people who are resident of one country and earn passive income through dividends or through interest or through royalties in other countries. So withhold tax is charged under the tax jurisdiction of second country. So the reason behind levying this tax, withhold tax, is quite simple, that the international investors invest in other countries but they do not file tax returns in the investing country, which is a loss to the government of investing country. So the government, in order to avoid that loss charges of withholding tax, so the withholding tax, which is a major subject of bilateral tax treaties and charged usually between 0 to 25%, is the charge of this withhold tax. So if we move on to the next type of tax, that is value added tax. So this value added tax is a national tax which is charged at each stage of the production or the sale of the goods in proportion to the value added during each stage. So the production goods like plant and equipment are not subjected to this value added tax. So few basic goods such as medicines and other health related expenses, education and religious activity, and postal services are charged at very low rate, and they are also often exempted from the tax. So the member of European Union and other countries of Western Europe, a number of Latin American countries, Canada and few other countries have adopted the value added tax as the main source of revenue from the indirect taxation. So if we move on to the next tax, that is Tobin tax. So emerging the transitional market are the main causes of the financial crisis. So the major financial crisis in 8 emerging markets of Thailand, Indonesia, Mexico, South Korea, Brazil and Russia, Turkey and Argentina. So the crisis is these emerging markets occurred due to the financial liberalization and unregulated access to global capital markets. So many effects have been put to identify the problems which are related to the capital fight. So and instantly there was introduced this Tobin tax was introduced by James Tobin. So many studies were conducted on this Tobin tax and indicated that the Tobin tax is effective because it is an impact in the rising capital flows in exchange market. So this is a major thing, and it should be considered that the Tobin tax is the only device or effective device to lower the speculative currency transactions. So this tax is majorly concerned in the speculative reduction in the lower or reduction in the speculative currency transactions. So if we move on to the other national taxes, so there are several national taxes which differ from one country to other country. So the different types of national taxes are turnover tax, which is charged on the purchase of sale or securities in few countries or stock market, and the tax on undistributed profits, etc. So this all comes under the national taxes. Usually it is found that the new foreign exchange purchases and the sales as the hidden taxes, So the government earns income from this foreign exchange purchases and sales and regulating them. So the imports and exports, for achieving the balance of payment, they are taxing this other tax. This is the end of our module of international finance, and in this module we have discussed about the foreign exchange markets and the foreign exchange management act, which is involved in dealing with all this foreign exchanges of the country. And we also discussed the concept of balance of payments and its significance, and we also discussed foreign direct investment and the factors or the reason which are leading to foreign direct investment. And we also discussed about taxation in the as a wide angle, and we also discussed different types of taxation which are followed in different countries with respective to the particular country or particular item on based upon the income source. And thanks for watching my video.